You gotta call me Reverend.
Yeah, with that, good morning. Today is May 18th, 2021, and this is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Kings County Board of Supervisors. Due to issues rising from COVID, the board is using a teleconferencing format for today's meeting. We are all participating via the World Wide Web. If you would like to make a public comment today, please make sure you are identified by name in the WebEx system. For those interested in commenting during unscheduled appearances, please use the raise your hand feature and wait to be recognized. Each speaker will be allowed up to 2 minutes for public comment. Each vote will be a verbal or voice vote so that members of the public can hear how each board member has voted. After we have had a motion and a second regarding each item we take up today, we will be doing a roll call vote by district. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Joe Nevs,
Here.
Richard Valley,
Here.
Doug Verboon,
Here.
Craig Peterson,
Here.
Richard Fagundes.
Here.
Okay, we have 5 present today, and at this time we will move to the invocation, and we have a pitch hitter today. So Supervisor Nebbs, would you like to
go ahead?
take that for us, please?
Please rise. Please join me in prayer. As we convene this working day for the betterment of Kings County, maybe we engage with each task with faith and service. May we deal with each situation with wisdom and value. May we speak with integrity and purpose. We invite you to work with us and assist us as we complete our duties of the day. Thank you. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Now join me as we honor America by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that, Supervisor Nebbs. All right, at this time, we will move to item 2, which is unscheduled appearances. And I know we had some previously requested time. Have they showed up with Mayor Preciado?
I understand that Alvaro Preciado, Mayor for City of Avenel, should be online to speak this morning, but I don't see.
He's up there on there.
Okay. Alvaro, if you're ready to go ahead and speak, we're ready for you.
Yes, good morning, everyone. First, good morning, Mr. Chair and supervisors. I just would like to take the opportunity to thank the board for sending the letter to David Valadeo's office in support of our request for an earmark in his district. We're very thankful. I believe our application is under consideration right now. And I also want to thank the board for giving the city of Avenel the opportunity to jointly work with the Avenel Cutoff Project, our 2.5 miles that we're responsible. Last Thursday, we did approve the expenditure to go ahead and proceed with the study for the road condition. And so looking forward to continue working with the County of Kings. And thank you for the opportunity to address the Board of Supervisors. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Further public comment?
I do not see anyone else with their hand raised or written comments.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we'll move to item 3, which is approval of the minutes from the May 11th, 2021 regular meeting. Board, what's your pleasure?
There are no questions or comments. I move to approve the May 11th meeting minutes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Fagundes, second by Verboon. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Richard Valley,
Aye.
Doug Verboon,
Yes.
Craig Peterson,
Aye.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
Okay, we have 5 in favor, motion carries. Now we'll move to item 5, which is regular agenda items and
Calendar,
pardon me?
consent calendar.
Oh, yeah,
Item 4.
we could do that. I looked at them. I was like, we're doing that. All righty. Back to item 4, which is a consent calendar. And If there are no
Make a
changes,
motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
okay, we have a motion by Verboen, second by Fagundes. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Richard Valley.
Aye.
Doug Verboen.
Yes.
Craig Peterson.
Aye.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
Okay, finally, we have 5 in favor. No thanks to me. 5 in favor. Motion carries. Back to the regularly scheduled items and item 5, which is regular agenda items, and item A is Department of Finance and Director Erb.
Good morning. Our
Morning.
Director of Finance. And of course, I get the first item, which is item that I regret bringing before the board, but in a nutshell, we were late on a IRS payment of payroll taxes approximately 1 year ago. And they've assessed us $29,561, which was 5% of the amount that was due. It's a payment that we make in 2 weeks. We haven't been late on it before, and it's upsetting to us that we are late. I did write a waiver request to the IRS, and that was subsequently denied. So at this point, we don't have much choice but to pay it. We were late for a few reasons. One, with a COVID quarantine, we were short-staffed in our Treasury division. It's only 3 people, and we only had 2, and we were cross-training an employee that we had not completed the cross-training when a quarantine happened, and there was confusion between employees as to who had access to the IRS site and who was supposed to make the payment. One other factor that I think contributed to the denial was within about a month of us being late, the job training office was late, and they use ADP as their payroll provider. They were late, but they used the county's tax ID number. So in the IRS records, it looks like the county was late 2 times in a row. I tried to explain that in the letter, but I'm sure in the IRS eyes that if somebody uses our tax ID number, we're responsible for the payroll taxes. So that didn't help. I know another county that was recently late with 1099s, and they were able to get their penalties waived. Excuse me. They were able to get their penalties waived. So it is something that is possible, and we will try to appeal it again. We do have that opportunity. I'll work with county council. Maybe I didn't emphasize COVID enough. There's been a number of allowances based on COVID for, property tax payments, IRS payment for personal income taxes were moved back a month. And it seemed odd to me that they didn't acknowledge that we had a similar situation. So we'll keep working on it. But the one thing we did to make a change here, so this doesn't happen again, and we probably should have done this a long time ago, is we moved this payment out of the Treasury Management Division to the Payroll Division. They make all the other payments that are related to payroll withholdings, such as CalPERS, deferred comp, and any garnishments, and they do it every 2 weeks. And so it makes sense that this payment sits with them too, and then they will initiate it and make sure that the payment happens. So I know I speak for everybody involved. We're very regretful of this, and I offer our apology. And we haven't had this happen to us before. And the staff gets payroll out accurately and timely every 2 weeks. They're on a constant treadmill with payroll. I'm sorry that this happened, and we'll continue to try to appeal it. But at this point, we have to pay it to avoid future or an increase of penalties and interest. So I'm asking that your board approve the payment of this. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Very good, thank you. Supervisor.
Yeah, this is Supervisor Verboen. And you know where I stand on this. I think everybody deserves a second chance, and I think everybody deserves, especially under COVID, a time lapse to make up any fix any mistakes that may have been made, and especially when COVID, working from home had to be difficult. So if you need help reaching out to the assembly members or our senator to help write a letter saying due to the COVID circumstances, we're unable to make the payment on time, we'll be happy to do that. I've been in your office a couple of times for simple mistakes happen, and you've been kind enough to listen. So we can work with you on that. And also, if it is COVID related, I want to talk to administration. Maybe we could use CARES Act funding to cover it because it was nothing due to us because of the fact that everything got so disrupted a year ago. No one knew what they were doing or what was going on. So if you need help, feel free to reach out.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, just,
Well,
go ahead. Sorry.
thank you. I really appreciate that support and we'll do that.
Yeah. And I think, how do you want to address how you're going to designate or where the funds are going to come from?
Oh, they would come from contingencies. We
Okay.
don't, if we had it in our budget, we would pay for it out of that, but we're,
Okay.
we're down to, we're down to the end of our budget. So we don't have the money there to pay for it.
Yep. Right. Thank you.
Mr.
Chairman?
Further questions?
About the CARES Act funding.
It's American Recovery Act
Yes,
funds that are coming.
It's not called the CARES Act anymore. Those was part of the prior package. Now it's the American Rescue Plan Act funding. But this, we would have to evaluate. I don't see it being a use for that, but we could certainly evaluate it.
If COVID related, it wouldn't have happened if we didn't have COVID. So I would stick to that.
Usually penalties and interests are not.
Wow. And make you work from home and expect you to follow the rules that were placed before you work from home. I don't buy it. So I say fight it. Don't mail them nothing.
Well, I think we need to pay it because they don't give a rat's ass who owes it. They're gonna accrue the penalties and so.
And we
I think
do
we
this
need-
with property taxes where we, if there's a penalty, this is the law that they have to make the payment of the penalty. And then we will evaluate an appeal, and doesn't make any difference whether the fact that they've paid it as to what our decision and the outcome will be. We'd be happy to refund it if it turns out that they're in the right.
Okay. With that, I'll make a motion.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. One, I want to just start off by saying to Mr. Erb, there's no, I don't believe there's any apology necessary. I echo and support the comments from Supervisor Verboen. I think absolutely this is 100% pandemic related. And I agree that we should be just as aggressive. It sounds like Supervisor Verboen is looking for some action today. And if council gives us the leeway to authorize the chairman to sign a letter today, to have the staff draft up this letter today and get it out today, especially to Assemblymember Salas, and ask, follow that up with the phone calls today too. So we could absolutely get that going today, with some speed here to back up the finance department on that. I don't see why they would not waive this, but we should take some aggressive action today. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think just for clarification, this is the federal tax. And so I think we're going to need to use, our senators and congressmen rather than our state reps.
And I got a motion to approve to pay it, and we'll work on it.
Okay. So there is a motion on the floor to pay this out of contingencies and continue to work on that. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay. So we have motion by Verboen, second by Neves. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Richard Valley,
Aye.
Doug Verboen,
Yes.
Craig Peterson,
Aye.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Jim,
Okay, thank you.
for the update. And we'll now move to item 5B, which is Public Works. And Dominic, welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Very good, thank you. Dominic Tyberski, Public Works Department. I'm before your board this morning to request adoption of a resolution certifying the county's maintained mileage to the state controller for the 2020 calendar year as 926.5 miles. Public Works Department is required annually to quantify and certify the total mileage of improved roads maintained by the county, as the certified maintained mileage is the basis by which the county's annual allocation of highway user tax account, or HUTA as it's commonly referred to, is calculated. Kings County's annual HUTA allocation is approximately $4 million, which is utilized to fund the roads division, which includes staff, equipment, and materials for maintenance. Additionally, this allocation also supports the engineering division, which designs and manages improvement projects and utilizes HUTA to fund the design and construction costs of roadway improvements, which are then in many cases reimbursed by Caltrans through various funding programs. So at this point, I'd be happy to answer any questions if you might have them.
Thank you for that. Questions, comments?
No questions. I move for approval. Deb seconds.
Okay, we have a motion by Fagundes, second by Nevs. Madam Clerk, please call roll.
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Richard Valley,
Aye.
Doug Verboon,
Yes.
Craig Peterson,
Aye.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
Okay, we have 5 in favor, motion carries. We'll now
Thank you.
move to, thank you, Dominic. We'll move now to item C, which is administration, and Ms. Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, members of the board. Rebecca Campbell, County Administrative Officer. Last week, the big news of last week was that the governor released his fiscal year 2021-22 May revision to the budget. And he thanked Californians for their collective efforts in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. And he touted a massive and historic budget surplus of $75.7 billion, combined with more than $25 billion in assistance from the Federal American Rescue Plan Act. The May revision outlines $100 billion for California Comeback Plan to accelerate the state's recovery from the pandemic and address longstanding economic and social challenges experienced by Californians. I wanted to let the board know that the California State Association of Counties did list a summary of the governor's May revision on their website under budget items. And so you can find a summary there listed. And at this time, I would like to turn it over to our Director of Public Health, and he has a short update for you as well.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Ed Hill, Public Health. I'm going to start my report as I always do by reminding everybody the simple steps we can take to protect ourselves from communicable diseases such as COVID-19. Those are frequently wash your hands for 20 seconds or more. Don't touch your face with unwashed hands. Stay hydrated with water. A hydrated cell is a healthy cell. And stay home if you're sick and wear cloth face coverings at least until we modify those rules by the CDC and CDPH. My update is going to be brief this morning as well. Our daily numbers are available on our website. We continue to watch hospital data closely. We are seeing a decline in medical surge and general admissions as well as ICU admissions locally and regionally, which is always a welcome sign. As of 5/16/2021, the local hospital had 4 med surge or general admission COVID patients and 0 patients in the ICU. Our PPE status has not changed, and we are still maintaining that 60-day of supply for all of our healthcare facilities. Also, as I announced last week, the state indicated that they will be distributing an additional surplus of PPE from their state stockpile. Last week, I had announced that or reported that this was going to skilled nursing facilities, but that has been updated to include all hospitals and federally qualified healthcare centers as well. They'll be getting a 30-day supply upon request through our mutual aid system on the medical health side at the state level. The mobile testing site schedule is on our website. Our current metrics for the blueprint are our new cases per 100,000 is at 4.1. Our overall testing positivity is at 1.7%, and our testing positivity in the lowest quartile of the Healthy Places Index is at 2.5%. So this means our new cases per 100,000 meets the orange tier criteria. Our overall testing positivity does meet the yellow tier criteria, and our testing positivity in the HPI meets the orange tier criteria. Our test per 100,000 has remained steady at 428. That's an average per day. The state median was adjusted to 323. Again, as we test more than what the state median is, we do get credit for that in our new cases per 100,000. I reported that our case per 100,000 was 4.1. That's our adjusted rate. The unadjusted rate is at 4.4. So we are still getting that credit, and it's good to see that our testing is maintaining where it's at. For the vaccine update, last week Public Health administered 638 vaccines. That's almost half of what we administered the week before, 1,298. We continue to have plenty of availability and appointments in all of our clinics, and we still have the capacity to provide 700 doses a day. As a reminder, at our request, the state is working to move the OptumServe vaccine site and move it to another county. They still plan on being out of there by May 29th, and as mentioned before, we will move our vaccine services in the Hanford Clinic to that site so that Public Health can continue with our other missions to fight valley fever, tuberculosis, and other communicable diseases. So far, Kings County providers have administered 67,324 vaccines. Last week, we did start vaccinating the 12 and up population, or the 12 to 15 population, and so far, Public Health has vaccinated 62 individuals in the 12 to 15 range. Unfortunately, the state's data system is down, so I can't give you a number of 12 to 15 vaccinated by all of our providers in the county at this time. But when that data system is back up, I will report that to your board. Vaccine hesitancy continues to be the prevailing issue, and a large number of counties still have requested not to receive any additional vaccines. We were approved for the Governor Ops additional vaccine funding that I've been mentioning the last couple of weeks, which include the possibility of incentives and other programs to bolster our vaccine distribution in the future. We will be bringing that contract to your board for approval next week. One thing I would like to provide an update for your board on is what's known as the subject of breakthrough cases or post-vaccination cases. And these post-vaccination cases are cases that occur in individuals who are fully vaccinated and have a positive COVID-19 molecular or PCR test more than 14 days after they've completed their full 1 dose or their 2 dose of COVID-19 vaccine series. Currently, over 13 million fully vaccinated individuals are in the state of California, and there were 3,620 post-vaccine cases identified in California between January 1st and through May 5th. The cases are identified by matching immunizations and confirmed case records. It is a laborious process that the state is challenged to collect, as well as locals, because of the data systems aren't still that accurate. But that translates to less than 0.026% of persons vaccinated have tested positive. And just as a reminder, some post-vaccine cases are expected because no vaccine is 100% effective at stopping the transmission of the disease, as has been reported by the CDC and the California Department of Public Health. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Questions from the board? Supervisor Valley.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, through you to our CAO, when will can the board expect a study session on the American Rescue Plan? And as we start talking about a funding breakdown with those monies?
Supervisor Valley, I would anticipate late June that study session will come to the board.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca. The only thing that I'd like to add right now, and just as a heads up to you, I don't know if you're going to be bringing a proposed spending plan of that, or if the study session, I would hope would give the Board of Supervisors an opportunity to voice some of the concerns that we may have as well. But this right here should go without asking, is that any plan, ultimately, whether it's your proposed or what we end up with, any plan should include funding to the hardest hit communities in Kings County and the hardest hit populations. We know that from the data, and I'm sure Ed will provide that breakdown, but we know that from the data, Latinos were impacted disproportionately and at higher rates than any other population. And that's true for Kings County when you look at the number of infections and the the death rate in Kings County with Latinos being the highest as well. And so on behalf of the Latino community, we would expect that an investment from the $29 million that the county is proposed to receive in that rescue plan, that the percentage of the investment matches the percentage of those impacts. So whether those communities are Stratford, Armona, Kelman City, Avenel, I believe that that's only right and one that's necessary. On top of that, just when you talk Latinos, we know those farm workers, those ag workers were very much, the data proves without debate that they were very much impacted and suffered throughout the pandemic. And that in spite of that, those hardworking men and women, they kept showing up to work. They kept doing a job that fed this country and kept doing a job that kept our Kings County economy going, and working with those farmers and those growers to do so as well in those packing houses. And so that being said, that's my heads up. And those are my comments for this morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving me the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments from the board? Yeah, I would just respond, I think, well, I understand, your direction, and obviously this will be something that will come to fruition probably through the study session with questions and recommendations. But, I think the county has, carried this burden as well. We serve every member of this community. And so, with respect to this funding, continuing to serve every member of this community is I think what should be the focus of the board, and making sure that we have the financial means to do so in a responsible way, and doing that moving forward. So anyways, further comments one last time by the board? All right. All right. So we have finished item C, and we've moved through the agenda rather quickly today. So at this time, we'll move to board member announcements or reports, and we'll start with Supervisor Nibbs.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Continue to announce softball games the last couple of weeks of the season for high school sports. Some of the playoff games will go beyond graduation, but I'm not sure we're there yet. Thursday night market continues here in Hanford, very well attended. A little early in the season for a lot of fruit and vegetables, but a lot of products on sale. American Legion continues to do their Friday morning breakfast. On Wednesday, we had a special meeting of LAFCO to open the public hearing based on the budget. So that is available online if you want to review that and give any comments to Greg or Chuck. Also supported AB 1581, which kind of maintains the role of LAFCO in local government. And so if you have a chance to review that as well. On Friday morning, South Fork Kings had a budget hearing as well, budget committee hearing meeting, crafting the financial decisions of the coming year. So one of the discussions that came up was to have the fixed cost of the GSA through an acreage fee, and then try to finance the projects through a user fee. A little more complicated, a little harder for staff to maintain, but it might be the easier way than trying to finance the organization through a user fee or directly through a per acre assessment. So we're still talking about that. Corcoran Spring Fest happened on Saturday, over 400 vehicles in downtown Corcoran, and nice turnout. Nice afternoon to spend in Corcoran. That evening went to ceremony. They had ice cream social with some music. Again, a very nice night. Kathy ended up wearing a sweatshirt. Why, I don't know, but it was a little bit chilly. The Kings County Homeless meeting took place yesterday. We reviewed the grand jury report, which is also out. So if you have a chance to review that, that will be coming. to this board for response. And also got a exposure or briefing on Housing is Key campaign, which helps both tenants and landlords. And while it may not be direct influence on homelessness, it certainly adds to part of the discussion. So if you get a chance to review that Housing is Key campaign, just punch that into your browser and you'll be able to pull that out. Also, the Stratford Portuguese celebration, I think, was shut down for another year. In its 105-year history, to my knowledge, that's the second year in a row that it didn't happen. I think I don't have any records going back to the Spanish influenza in 1919, but we don't have any records on that. But the only other year was 1969 because of flooding during the Tulare Lake event. And for me, it was year 49, but all I have to do is mow the yard and prune the trees. So, 49 years of mowing the lawn.
Maybe you'll get promoted.
I doubt it. I don't, I've almost settled into my role in that part, and I think I just want to stay there. It's easier to chop weeds than chop. Well, yeah. So with that, and it does kick off the Portuguese season. Hanford's is this weekend, a little more, unfortunately, because of COVID and a lot of changes. Many of those events won't be taking place. There are some in the Valley, Easton this weekend, Tipton, and Visalia in June. And so
I thought every day was Portuguese season.
Well, officially, yeah, we're talking about the official site.
Kind of surrounded by them.
Yeah. With that, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Supervisor for goodness.
Yesterday, we had KT AAA, as you know, because you're part of that organization also, and discussed the funding and what's going to happen and what's coming. And then helping out with a few fundraisers, as everybody is doing a fundraiser now, it seems like every week. And trying to participate and help here and there where we can.
Very good. Thank you. Supervisor for Verboen.
Yeah, last week I had a policy council meeting on Friday to discuss adding a lobbyist or language to our current lobbyist to apply for more funding through COVID during this time. Also on Wednesday, I went to the Peace Officer Memorial with everybody else. Very well attended, very nice service. Humbles you down a little bit when you realize how devastating it's been to our police community over the years. Also on Saturday, King's Guild put on their fundraiser for the Valley Children's Hospital. Last year they shut it down because of COVID. This year they did a drive-through, and they made more money with a drive-through than they did if they had an actual event. The girls busted their butts, did a good job. Everything was in boxes with the technology with online bidding and auctioning. We went back and barbecued at our house with the takeout boxes, and everybody's sitting around a table eating, bidding on the items, and they went up pretty high. And so it shows it can be done. And maybe in the future, if they do have a event that in person, they will still offer the takeout as well. So, and we cooked our own food. So it was very well done, and the money's still there. People still want to support our local nonprofit. So very good. Thank you.
Thank you. And Supervisor Rao.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to use part of my time, Mr. Chairman, to go back to just reiterated on my last point of the comments I made. My voice is representing Latino leaders. I started off those concerns in regards to these funds that are coming to our county on behalf of some Latino leaders in the county of King. So it's not just me. That being said, I would urge the CAO to take my comments with the same amount of weight as she takes yours, Mr. Chairman. I didn't want to go back and forth with you or appear to during that last agenda item, but I was disappointed that your comments just seem to dismiss those concerns. And so you're right that we have an upcoming agenda item where the board will vote on these monies, and we look forward to it to talk about that. You're right that we do have other priorities, and so we're not, my comments didn't reflect 100% of that 29 million going to this hardest hit population and hardest hit communities. I spoke about the need that we need to invest in that. And so those concerns aren't going anywhere. And the CAO has asked for a heads up. And so that was a heads up. And so take that being what it is. The small businesses, you can recall, I worked very hard to bring a $5 million grant plan that the board voted on, and we took care of small businesses during the pandemic. I have full faith that we will continue to do that with this rescue plan funding as well. But these communities, they hit hard, and that population was hit hard. Now we are on the right track with our the rollout. I very much commend the Board of Supervisors and Mr. Ed Hill on how he rolled out the vaccine. And there's a lot of equity, especially to the Latino population and Latino communities with the way he rolled out that plan. And I want to thank him, and I want to thank all four of you gentlemen for that, as well as the CAO. So I'm here to work with you, but please don't dismiss those concerns. I'll wrap up, Mr. Chairman. This would be my last meeting here at my home that I've been at since 2003. For full transparency, I'll be moving to 1609 Norbo here, remaining in Corcoran. And so I don't know if there's any paperwork I need to do with that, but I'll follow up with Catherine, our clerk, to make sure that all of that is legitimate and remains transparent. And I do look forward to returning to the chambers after June 15th. I just wrapped up my first long trip. I went to Las Vegas for my reunion with my Marine Corps unit that I served with from 91 until 96. And so it was a good time seeing a lot of those Marines and getting together and sharing some old stories and catching up on our families and what we're doing today. So I'm gonna do the right thing. I'm gonna get tested, double checked, even though I'm vaccinated. And but that's my report. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And I don't have any comments, so we'll move to board correspondence.
Yes, as Supervisor Neves talked about in correspondence, there is that report on homelessness from the grand jury. You'll also find from the Department of Water Resources a petition for temporary change to modify the State Water Project and Central Valley Project authorized places of use. Also from the State Water Resources Control Board, a notice of petition for the temporary change involving the transfer of up to 14,650 acre feet of water from the city of Sacramento to the Santa Clara Valley Water District. From MKB or MBK Engineers, a Tudor Mutual Water Company petition for change involving water transfer under license 6184. And from the Fish and Game Commission, a notice of final consideration of petitions to list Clara Hunt's Milkbeck, Northern California Summer Steelhead, and Upper Klamath Trinity River Spring Chinook salmon as threatened or endangered species. There are no upcoming meetings or events. Upcoming agenda items next week, May 25th, the COVID-19 update, the lobbying contract renewal, Kettleman City surface water transfer treatment plant withdraw from the trust fund. Also from the Ag Commissioner, 2 agreements with the state, one for the inspection of fruits and vegetables, the other for the detection of the European grapevine moth. From Behavioral Health, there'll be a lease agreement with LJ Steiner and also an amendment to the existing lease agreement with Angel Ting 2 Limited Partnership. From the Health Department, there are 3 items as Mr. Hill stated. The Government Operations Agency Vaccine Financial Assistance Contract will come before the board. Also, the fiscal year 21-22 Professional Services Contract will also come before the board. There will also be a Solid Waste Local Enforcement Agency grant. From the Human Services Agency, second agreement to the a second amendment to the agreement with West Hills Community College for CalWorks training, and also an agreement with the West Hills Community College for GED prep, remediation and testing. And from Public Works, next week, there'll be a fiscal year 21-22 SB1 project list coming back before the board. And then June 1st, the meeting is canceled. June 8th, that is when administration is planning on bringing the proposed budget before the board. Later in the month, we'll have in the SB 81 juvenile contract come back before the board. And as I stated before, a plan for the American Rescue Plan Act study session.
That it?
That is it. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a quick question? I got June 8th is her proposed county budget or the rescue fund plan study session?
The proposed budget.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We did have a closed session item, but that has been pulled. And so just looking forward at 11 o'clock, we do have the California Public Finance Authority regular meeting. But at this point, we will now adjourn unless there's any further comments or actions to come before the board. We will adjourn to our May 25th, 2021 regularly scheduled meeting. Meeting adjourned.
Wasn't supposed to use it.
Yeah.
Right, it is 11:01, and this is a time and place for the California Public Finance Authority for the Tuesday, May 18th, 2021 meeting. Do you please call the roll?
Joe Nevs,
Here.
Richard Valley,
Here.
Doug Verboon,
Here.
Craig Peterson,
Here.
Richard Fagundes.
All right, we have all present. We'll now move to item 2, which is approval of the minutes from the May 4th, 2021 regular meeting.
I'll move as presented. We're boom.
Nev seconds.
Okay, we have motion and second. Please call the roll.
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Richard Valley.
Aye.
Doug Verboon,
Yes.
Craig Peterson,
Aye.
Richard Fagundes.
Yeah, we have 5 in favor, motion carries. We'll now move to the consent calendar.
Make a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have motion and second. Please call the roll.
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Richard Valley,
Aye.
Doug Verboon,
Yes.
Craig Peterson,
Aye.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
Okay, we have 5 in favor as well there. We'll now move to public comment. Any person may directly address the board at this time on any item on the agenda or any other items of interest to the public that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. 5 minutes are allowed for each item. Do we have anyone that requests?
I see no hands up and received no written comments.
Thank you. At this time, we'll move to staff updates, and I see Caitlin is with us. Caitlin, do you have anything for us today?
Good morning. No staff updates today. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Right. That brings us to item 6, which is an adjournment. Any further items to come before the board? Seeing none, we're adjourned.
Thank you.